and welcome to the podcast, More Than a Mood, Understanding Mental Health Warning Signs, sponsored by DC Engage. DC Engage is funded wholly or in part by the government of the District of Columbia, Department of Health, HIV/AIDS, Hepatitis, STI, and TB Administration, also known as HOSTA. Our guest today is Patrick LeBlanc. Patrick is a certified trauma and resilience professional, a mental health first aid instructor, and a mental health advocate. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you so much. Thank you, DC Health, DC Engage. I'm just so excited about the opportunity to share with you guys. So with that said, let's talk about some signs and symptoms of mental health challenges. Now, we're going to talk about this in 4 domains. And the first one is going to be behavior. So when you see this brain, I want you to think about behavior, because when our behavior is going to be things that start showing up as a pattern. A person, they're late, they're canceling personal and professional commitments or appointments. They withdraw from family and friends. They're just not as engaging as they once were. Now, you do have those people that are introverts. I have a friend, a family member who will say she's not a social butterfly. But guys, we were not meant to be in isolation. That's why COVID was so traumatic to all of us. But when you have that behavior when you withdraw from family, your loved ones, people that you love and like to interact with, that's something that should be concerning. Or now there's just odd, erratic behavior. Hey, I know Stephanie, this is not her. Hey, I know Jacqueline. She's not. This is just totally out of character for what she's doing. So when we think about how a person is behaving, that's just a sign for us to have some concern.
Patrick, is there a difference between signs and symptoms?
Signs are things that you can see. Symptoms are things that you cannot see. They are not observed. A person has to maybe tell you or something that case, but a sign is something you can see. Okay, so they look tired or they look disheveled. There's issues with their clothing, or there's some hygiene issues. So all these things are things, again, you can see. You can visibly see. This person usually is very conscientious. They're always well groomed. Always have a certain kind of dress or attire, and now all of a sudden that change, that should be a red flag. Not to say that just because you see that you want to just immediately diagnose them with some kind of mental illness. That's not the case. But hopefully relationships can help you have a better understanding that this may be going on with that particular person. They can be unkept more than usually is for a person. I just want to share a story. I was working with a school district here, and there was a boy that was just having some issues. And the school counselor, they called us when I was working as an administrator at this hospital. They wanted to get the boy in. They thought something was wrong. The boy was sad, looking unclean. Clothes were not washed, had an odor. And come to find out, after some investigation, the young man, the family, the home where he lived in, the water had been disconnected for a week. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I don't want you just immediately to put this diagnosis or this label on somebody, but these are things that I just want you to kind of be in tune and not rule out that it could be a sign or a symptom of a mental health concern. Of course, cuts and bruises at various stages of healing. This is a sign that something is wrong. There's a sign that we're trying to deflect a train of thought from one part of the body to the other. And that's really the institution. It's the basis for why they cut or they self-mutilate. I have so much going on up here that I need to direct all this to another part of my body. So if you see cuts at various stages of healing, that's a sign. But the problem is a lot of times they will cut or self-mutilate in an area where you can't see it. One of the most prominent areas is the bottom of their feet in between their toes. I wish I could see you cringe because I know you're doing it. But think about this. Have you ever tried to walk with a cut foot? You have to focus on walking. So all of this stuff going on up here, I can't think about that. I have to focus on what. So that's the premise about why they generally will cut, because I'm trying to deflect. I don't want to think about this. So just remember, signs are things that we can see. Symptoms are things we cannot see. So here we go with the symptoms. Sad, worry. You may see that in their affect, but a lot of times they will tell you, I feel sad. I'm worried about this. I'm concerned. Here's where anxiety comes in. Because anxiety is really worried about something that's going to happen in the future. I don't know. I have a doctor's appointment on Friday. They called me back for my second mammogram. And you don't have any control. Every time I go to the dentist, I don't know about you, but every time I go to the dentist, when they take my blood pressure is high. But when I leave the dentist, my blood pressure is not high. Again, so that anxiety of just being there, but they have to tell you that. But here's another thing when you talk about feelings. They no longer enjoy activities or hobbies that they just normally love to do. That was one of the indicators for me, for my wife to know something was wrong. I love to be outdoors. I have a vegetable garden. I'm out there, not now in this 105-degree heat here in Texas, but I love to be outside. And she knew on those nice, good days when I wasn't doing that, something's wrong with my husband. So again, feelings, have this sense of hopelessness or despair. Today is just the worst day ever. I have no value in my life, or I feel that I'm not important, or nobody cares if I live or die. So when you hear these kind of these sad feelings, or they could be on an emotional roller coaster, laughing, and then all of a sudden they're just crying. I don't know if you've ever seen someone like that their emotions are just up and down like a seesaw. What, why? Major anger, major rage. Then now they're smiling, they're joyful, and then anything can just set them off. So when you think about how a person is feeling, that's another way signs are. So we have the brain for the behavior, the eyes are something that we can see. Here's a symptom: feeling sad, feeling joyful, something might be wrong. And the last one is our thoughts. And so you got these wheels turning in your head, and all of a sudden, because of that, you have difficulty concentrating or making decisions. Or you have these racing thoughts, or your mind just may go blank. Now, some of that can happen because of birthdays. I don't know where you guys are, but sometimes as we get old, we can't process things as fast and as swiftly as we used to. But I just don't want us to rule out that something else might be going on. Or there's this increasing self-blame or self-criticism. I'm not worthy, or I think I'm not good enough, or no one values me, or my life has no meaning. I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not sufficient. I'm not qualified. So all this self-blame or self-criticism of yourself can be very damaging to your thought process. And then, we have this distorted body image. We got the Barbie movie coming out, and society has painted this picture that this is how we should look. I go to the doctor. He has this poster on his wall. I'm about 6'3", and according to his poster, I should be weighing 220 pounds. Doc, it ain't gonna happen. It's just not. It's not gonna happen. And so we have to be mindful of what society has projected, that this is how we should look. And because of us not meeting that particular standard, sometimes we can have this thought and not be pleased with our body and who we are. But you need to understand who you are. You're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes, recognition is the first step, and action is what changes the outcome. Thank you for your commitment to integrating mental health into patient care and advancing whole person health. Thank you, Patrick, for that wonderful discussion, and to everyone who joined us today. Take care.